we're going to talk a bit about attention more in detail, define what it is, what its characteristics are, its features. So let's jump right in.
Okay. So when we look at attention, and we don't struggle to define it as an abstract concept, but to really, how do we feel it? How do we sense it? I will really take everything down to the ground.
Yes.
Attention appears with certain characteristics that we can sense, which is very important to notice and also to respect. I would say the first one is that attention is not limitless. Attention has limits. We nowadays know it also from the environment and from different things around us, that resources don't run forever. And it's also true for our attention. Attention has its limits. And if we look at it within the context of our experience, it starts making sense. For instance, if we now try to sense everything that happens in this room, slightly difficult or slightly overwhelming. We cannot pay attention to everything at once, naturally. The whole thing about attention, as we said before, is to focus, to look at the landscape from a particular area. So this is the first thing to understand concerning the limit. And another aspect of the same limitation, which is very important, is that we cannot also pay attention to a specific area in the landscape for 10 years or for a lifetime. It would be also a limitation, or to notice it in the best way we can for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It would be very tiring.
Which simply means that what we all know, we pay attention to something and at some point we're like, I need a rest, or I need to rest my eyes, or you know, in the shop when you want to buy a perfume, and then in between you have to smell the coffee.
I would already faint.
Because it's not my thing either, but it just came to my mind that we rest our nose, the attention of our nose for a moment before we can pay attention to smells again.
True. Yeah. So we have to recalibrate or to come neutral again.
Yeah.
To rest. We will talk about rest because it's extremely important. But from the limitation of attention, we cannot pay attention to everything at once. Yeah. We cannot pay attention to something forever. We start to recognize there is certain scopes, certain ranges.
One question: would you just one? Would you say that we can, as if, multitask with our attention, and if we do this, like if we try to stretch it, that it becomes thinner also, and the more we choose where to put it, the more we have the full force of it? Do you know what I mean?
Interesting. So already in how you describe it, I can feel this motion. Becomes thinner, becomes deeper. That's the beauty of it. It's exactly this kind of dance. But it's true that when we multitask, many people describe it that, first of all, you tend to make more mistakes. And sometimes it becomes very tiring after a while. Unless you multitask in an embodied way, that your body is on board and everybody benefits, that you don't waste yourself. For instance, when we do exercises, many times we coordinate few movements together. These can enhance attention. But if I'm trying to wash dishes, hold the baby, talk on the phone, click on my computer, sorry, I made noise. It starts to become too much. And I tend to do the wrong thing. You wash the baby, you milk the dishes. Those kind of funny things. Now, by the way, people describe it now, it's hilarious. You can have a whole stand-up comedy just about how difficult it is to pay attention nowadays. So if we respect the limitation, almost like the limits of the quality of air, the quality of water, that we have nice fruits, but we don't abuse the nature. It's a very interesting thing, because then we can see the overconsumption and the rejuvenation. The same thing for our attention. I would say attention is almost like a natural resource, but it's a human resource, just a fundamental human resource, that we have to remember that it has its limits. And we cannot focus on too many things at once.
Yeah. So this is number one of the features of attention.
Yeah,
it's limited.
Yeah, and I would also not take it as if something bad about
Mhm.
attention, but something to respect.
Yes.
That if we have a very, very serious talk, and I really feel that I need a moment to rest, that I respect it and not jump immediately to the next thing.
Mhm.
Because many of us are not multitasking exactly, but we jump from task to task to task as if we are running away from something. Instead of delving deeper, we kind of skid over the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different strategies that people apply, but it's really worthwhile to respect, okay, I'm a human being, I've done something now, I understand now I have a limitation, I respect it and I love it and
Mm-hmm.
I nourish it. It's
Mhm.
like I respect a tree, I respect
Mhm.
a pet, I respect
Yes.
a person, myself. The same thing to understand we cannot drive ourselves into extinction by pushing it all the time.
Yes.
And it also means that when we try to focus by force for too long, it burns the resource. So there is some learning to work with it in a more sustainable way.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it means.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say this is a very important thing to realize about attention.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the only one, but it's one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's okay to go a step further,
Yes, please.
related very much to what we spoke about, we can also again feel it, that attention has a certain limitation, but more specifically, it's a bit like a bottleneck.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit like our neck. There is
Mhm.
something, or throat. There is something narrowing, but extremely important.
Yes.
So attention can deal with so much at any given moment. So if I overload it, just like with traffic,
Mm-hmm.
I get a Stau, like a traffic jam.
Yeah.
The same thing
Mhm.
clogs up in our veins. I hope not. But you can see it in every flow of nature. There is a certain capacity which allows enough to move through. If you squeeze it, it gets clogged. If you narrow the neck,
Mm-hmm.
throat, it gets stopped or stuck.
Mm-hmm.
How do we manage to work with our attention that it's not overloaded and this bottleneck is respected? Having in mind that everything we experience has to go through our attention, and we understand that it has its limits. So if I would now like to read something, I have to make sure that I'm able to really concentrate on it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I talk to someone, that I have the emotional place, space, a safe space
Yes.
to communicate, I have to come in a way prepared and to respect the fact that there is not everything that can go at once.
So would you say that this bottleneck,
Mm-hmm.
or is like the door to our, I don't know, what is it? Who are we? The the consciousness, or like
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
That-
beautiful.
that we, that the door has to open to
Mhm.
something so that we
Yeah.
become aware of it, even.
Yes. In order to be aware of something, it has to pass through our attention.
Mm-hmm.
So I am responsible for you called it once the lens.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful, or a window.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a frame that I have to learn how to maneuver and work
Mhm.
with. This is just a visual metaphor, but it
Mhm.
can, on every level,
Mm-hmm.
I am called for to be aware of my attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I lock on it,
Mm-hmm.
when I enter an engagement with a specific thing, then I can really absorb it.
Yeah. I feel like this is where the metaphors start to lose, are no longer really correct.
Yes, they are very limited. We have to
Yes.
remember it.
Yeah.
For instance, many psychologists described, also in Flow, in the book, it
Mm-hmm.
was very interesting. He described attention as a lamp,
Mm-hmm.
a bit like a projector.
Yeah.
It is a very, very powerful metaphor, but it also has certain limitations. So let's just remember that when we talk about these metaphors to an extent, they are very useful. It's like a bike.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good to go a few kilometers to the market. If you need to climb a mountain might be more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tool, or a metaphor is like a carriage.
Mm-hmm.
It actually says, it means like a wagon that you can carry, like a wheelbarrow.
Mm-hmm.
So you can carry it to an extent,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to attention and later on to perception,
Mm-hmm.
because our capacities to use metaphors are already involving the capacities we try to work with.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to go this way
Yeah.
with a metaphor. It's easier to go, metaphor of this or that, about a model of something, I can
Mm-hmm.
work with it. But when it comes to my experience, it has certain limitations.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just a word of caution about this. But it's
Mm-hmm.
true what you say.
Mm-hmm.
You describe it very nicely. So this bottleneck also is a metaphor,
Mm-hmm.
just to describe the way that attention can just take
Mm-hmm.
so much at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to manage it in a way. We'll get also to management later. But the question would be, how do I want to work with it now? How many things do I want to do at once?
Yeah.
How many connections do I want to...
How intense do I also want to be
Yeah,
about something, right?
absolutely.
I really feel like this, because we spoke about awareness before,
Mhm.
and it sounded as if awareness is there first and then comes attention, but it's not even true. In a way, it feels more like, right now to me, it feels more like awareness is a less intense state.
Mhm, absolutely.
It's like it's always there, and then we can bring attention, and it amplifies something that is already
Beautiful.
there.
Yeah. So the embodied awareness, I call it sometimes as a latent
Mm-hmm.
experience. It's like dormant.
Mm-hmm.
If now each one of us wants to pay attention to our feet,
Yeah,
toes,
yeah.
Very
The feet
distant.
are there all the time.
if we get
Always.
hurt, we feel them.
Yeah.
But unless we want to do something with them, my awareness to my feet is not in the foreground.
Yeah.
It's not the center issue unless I'm now doing something with my feet.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good example for this. Or my lower back against the chair.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working forward. We are talking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so much busy with my back unless I'm hurt.
Yeah.
So there is something there that exists. It's potentially
Mm-hmm.
able to come to the fore.
Mhm.
If I'm getting uncomfortable or something,
Mhm.
I will feel it. But it's not the center stage. It's not the main issue.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of it. So embodied awareness is a little bit like a blurry, constant experience.
Mm-hmm. And then we pull the focus.
Here comes the thing. Yes,
pull the
exactly.
focus. Sorry, like this.
Yeah, it looks very professional.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So then on top of this awareness, especially when it comes to the body,
Mm-hmm.
if I would now like to work on my knee, or to do something with my fingers, or to write my name with the wrong hand or whatever, I would have to apply specifics. And whenever we do this, attention is there.
Yeah.
Because for every capacity, also things that I already know, I would have to use my attention.
Mm-hmm.
With the body, it's beautiful how you mention it, because the embodied awareness is there as if a given.
Mm-hmm.
My attention has to come on top if I want to do something specific with the body.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say paying attention to breathing.
Mm-hmm.
I hear it, I feel it, I sense the temperature of the air. I feel how my chest rises, how my belly relaxes. Whatever is there, I can do it with full consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
But I first of all need my attention to be involved on top of my awareness.
Mm-hmm.
I just call it in two different terms that we can slightly feel the difference.
Yeah.
And then I can start to have a direction, this
Yeah.
drive,
Yeah.
and then attention can come on top.
Yeah, it's more connected to my will, to my
Intentions.
intentions. Mm-hmm.
And this is also, it's remarkably important when we come to healing,
Mm-hmm.
because the fact that people are able to pay attention to a hurt place, the awareness is already there because it's hurting.
Mm-hmm.
But now if I'm intentionally going in
Mm-hmm.
and sensing, I can enhance my healing because I already have two levels of awareness converging. The embodied awareness, naturally given, and the intentional attention
Yeah.
coming on top. This raises awareness.
Yeah.
When we are able to apply this in the working room with the person we work with, even if they have very difficult conditions to deal with, when they learn to shift attention there, one of the things we see is an enhanced or accelerated healing process, which is wonderful. But it just shows you the power of it. So this ability to shift,
which is a huge topic in itself,
we will
right?
train
Like
it as
how
well.
we use attention for healing purposes. So what we spoke about now was attention is limited, and attention goes through this bottleneck, this lens that has a certain capacity that we can also learn to enhance. But it will always be limited.
We can broaden, we can sharpen, there is a whole travel there. Beautiful.
So maybe let's leave it at this for now, and later on dive into what else it is that characterizes attention.
Yeah, there are a few more very interesting ones.
So
we'll get
more to come.
We'll get ready.
Cool. Yeah,
cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this was